After my wife's company went public, the first thing she did was send me a box of blank paper and strip me of my shareholder status 10 years ago. I invested the $1 million inheritance my father left me into her company. We worked side by side to turn a small business into a renowned enterprise over those 10 years. I sacrificed my health for the company and handed over every cent of my dividends to my wife, hoping our 10 years of love would lead to a happy ending. But I never expected, at the shareholders meeting, she would slam a box of blank paper in my face, mocking me that this was my $10 billion in dividends. Furious, I demanded an explanation, but instead of showing gratitude, she mocked me, saying it was my father's inheritance that helped her rise, then admitted she tricked me into signing the equity transfer, and now all of it had been given to her first love, starting today. Her first love would be the largest shareholder in the company. Hearing her heartless words, I felt chilled to the core. I asked her if she really had to be this cruel. Her only response was a punch from her first love. He sneered and said, "She only ever loved herself. I was just a tool to make them money." My wife stood beside him, telling me to stop embarrassing myself. I could only leave in humiliation, never imagining that everything I had poured myself into for 10 years would become a joke. At that moment, a bold plan for revenge began to form in my mind. But before I could act, someone from the bank showed up. They said a loan from 10 years ago would be due in 3 days, and if I didn't repay it, they would repossess the house. My younger sister burst into tears. It was impossible to pay that much in just 3 days. But I became even more determined. I went to my room and pulled out a contract I signed 10 years ago. Back then, all shareholders signed a special contribution agreement to thank me, to ensure my authority in the company, which stated that no matter how many years passed, I would remain the legal representative and hold ultimate veto power for any major decisions, mergers, or dissolutions. My word would be final. Just then, the door was kicked open. My wife barged in with dozens of thugs. Without a word, they started destroying everything, smashing antiques and paintings, then threw a confession document in front of me, saying if I admitted recent company losses were my fault, they'd spare what was left of my home. I refused and cursed them. So one of the thugs poured gasoline on my sister, threatening me to sign. Seeing my wife's wicked expression, I chose to yield to protect my sister in the house. But after I signed, they still didn't let her go. They knocked her out and ordered the shareholders to beat her up, even threatened to kill me if I didn't stay quiet, then arrogantly walked away. I rushed my sister to the hospital, then went straight to the regulatory bureau, and as the legal representative, requested the dissolution of the group. News of what happened to me soon reached my mother, who had been missing for 10 years, and she turned out to be the founder of another major corporation. She had stayed away to avoid interfering in my life, but after learning of this betrayal, she flew into a rage and headed for my city with her private security team. Her assistant came ahead with hundreds of bodyguards and revealed her true identity, explaining their mission was to help me take revenge. They would host a welcome banquet for me the next day, and once my mother arrived, she would immediately hand over her chairman position to me. Hearing this exciting news, a new plan formed in my heart. The next morning, I walked into the banquet hall with hundreds of bodyguards. Before my wife could understand what was happening, my mother entered and publicly declared I was the sole heir to